Hi there, I'm James, I'm with the Basingstoke Mutual Aid network, and right now I'm going to be talking you through a talk I gave on the Kill the Bill National Day of Action about policing, stop and search, and what your rights are. There are notes available for this. If you contact me on Facebook at James Shannon, or send me an email at jamespshannon@gmail.com, I'll be happy to send them over to you. This was part of an interactive session, so please don't be confused about the length of it, because there was a lot of discussion going on with a lot of the attendees as well. So, this session will give learners an understanding of the function and purpose of policing, of community police relations, and how stop and search relates to these. The session will introduce learners to key concepts in stop and search law, helping them identify unlawful and unprofessional practice. It will also help you to feel confident to engage with the police, to know what to expect, and to feel able to handle a stop and search situation. So, a contrast is often drawn between a police force and a police service. The notion of a police force emphasises the crime-fighting role of the police and the various ways in which the police can legally use force or violence to enforce the law, e.g., to overpower suspects who resist arrest. A police force tends to be more aggressive and militaristic in response to situations. Zero-tolerance policing draws on the idea of the police as a force, as a militant group. The notion of a police service emphasises the range of activities that the police are involved in beyond the militant enforcement of the law and crime fighting. For example, responding to calls for help from the public, resolving disputes, giving directions, patrolling the beat, finding missing persons, attending traffic accidents, and so on and so forth. A police service tends to focus more on prevention and seeks to work cooperatively with the public. It is important to note, however, that whether they are referring to it as a police force or a police service, it is still the same group of people enforcing the same laws. And whatever ways that you may be approached in a stop and search situation, these are the same people who are enforcing these laws, whether they're aggressive or quite calm. So, stop and search itself is a power that allows the police to search individuals that they suspect of carrying prohibited items. Items that they would in this situation be looking for are drugs, weapons, stolen items, anything that they believe could be used to commit an offence. This would be like a crowbar or spray paint. And so that's the sort of fundamental basic of the law. It means that they can stop someone in any public place and ask to search for those items if they have reasonable suspicion that they are there. According to Code A of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act of 1984, officers cannot discriminate against someone for their race, religion, age, or membership of a group or community. Officers must have reasonable suspicion that a person possesses a stolen/prohibited item based on either specific intelligence or suspicious behavior. Officers must inform the person being searched of their badge number, the station that they are registered at, and the grounds for the stop/what they are expecting to find. Afterwards, officers must offer the person being searched a completed stop and search receipt, or tell you how you can obtain one. There are some situations where this reasonable suspicion quantifier is lifted. These are under Section 60 of this same law, the Police and Criminal Evidence Act of 1984. Section 60 can be put into effect for a specific area for 24 hours to deal with what the police considers a threat of imminent violence. For example, a football match or a public gathering. It can be used for terrorism-related searches, and it has often been applied blanket to traveller communities as well. So, it is also important to note that the stop and search law, despite the earlier legislation, has been used disproportionately against minority groups. Nationally, black people are 6 times more likely to be stopped and searched than white people. Asians are twice as likely to be stopped and searched than white people. And young people are disproportionately stopped as well. So, how do you deal with a stop and search situation? I'm going to be talking you through what is called the search formula. And the search formula is a list of things to try and keep in mind when you're in this situation that can help you have as pleasant an experience as you can have when you are being stopped and searched, or you are in the vicinity of someone being stopped and searched. So, search. The S is for stay calm. It's a difficult thing to do in one of these situations. However, as much as you can do, try and stay calm, regulate your breathing, make sure that you're not clenching your fists or anything. Just try to relax your body slightly. The calmer you are, the slower your breathing is, the clearer you're going to be able to think. It's going to be finished faster than if you are aggressive or arrogant. If you start feeling angry, just focus on slowing down your breathing, because in any case, whether you have been approached for a good reason or for a poor reason, no matter what, the calmer you are, the better the outcome's going to be for you in that situation. The E is for eye contact. If you make eye contact with the officer, that means that you are putting yourself in a position of equality. You're reinforcing their role as someone who is meant to be serving the people. It presents you as engaged in a conversation and not guilty. The more polite you are, the more it will catch them off guard potentially and make it harder for them to intimidate you. And if you don't let anger or fear get the better of you and you maintain this eye contact and you stay calm, then you are going to come out of that situation a good deal calmer and more confident than otherwise. The A is for ask questions. When you're in this situation, treat it as a conversation and not as a confrontation. Answer reasonable questions and ask some back. It's important to ask at the beginning of the situation if you are being detained or if you are free to leave. There are 4 W's that you should be asking if you are stopped and searched. Number 1, why are you stopping me? On what grounds and what legal power are they using? Number 2, what are they looking for? What is the object of the search? Do they have suspicion that you have a weapon, something you're going to vandalize something with, whatever? Number 3, who are you? You need to get the officer's ID number, see their badge or their warrant if they're not in uniform, and finally, where are you from? Get the station at which they are registered. And finally, the most important thing is you do not have to give them any personal details if you do not want to. You don't need to give a name, you don't need to give an address, you don't need to do any of that. However, you are free to ask these questions, and it is a legal requirement that they give their ID number, their badge, and the station they're registered at. The R in search is for receipt. So your receipt is going to be your official proof. If you are not offered a receipt, you must ask for one. For written slips, check that every section has been completed and that it is fully accurate. For electronic recordings, you'll get a card with a reference number that you should use at the station to try to claim your receipt. It is the law for the police to offer you a copy. If there is a good reason that they cannot, they must tell you how you can obtain one later on. You can, and this is important, you can, after you have been stopped and searched, still claim it from the police station for the next 3 months. This is a lot easier if you get the officer's ID number. Even if you don't have any details, but you need them to, for example, make a complaint about the situation, there will still be ways of doing this. And this will go on for 3 months after you have been stopped and searched. You should also record. There's 2 R's in this spelling of searched, by the way. So filming protects everyone's interests in this situation. It's an additional level of monitoring and protection for both the police and you. You are allowed to film the police officer conducting the search as long as you do not obstruct it. This is an offence legally. Sometimes officers do not like this, so might challenge you on it. You have a legal right to record the situation, so my advice would be to go out of your way to make it as unobtrusive as possible so that they do not have any legal grounds to stop that. If you have a smartphone, politely inform the officer that you are going to get it out to film the search, because reaching for your pocket without warning might be misinterpreted as you pulling out a weapon, for example. Sometimes you might not feel safe taking your phone out, which is completely understandable. So some alternatives are that you can ask a friend or a passerby to film as a witness. You can record the audio. That doesn't require you to hold your phone out. And you can even keep it in your pocket, which is definitely not obstructing. You can also download a live streaming video app, and you can still have the footage even if your phone gets taken away or damaged in that situation. The C is for confidence, and there is a fine line between confidence and arrogance. You do not need to be threatening, you don't need to be macho, you don't need to be puffing your chest out in order to display confidence. Sometimes it's enough as eye contact and, a pleasant demeanor. Knowing your rights and knowing how you can communicate clearly will give you more confidence in this situation, and you should demonstrate that understanding as soon as possible to make sure that the police officer in question knows that you understand the situation potentially better than they do, and that even if you are still stopped and searched or they're still rude or whatever, you can still walk away confident in your rights, both in that situation and going forward. The H is for hold to account. The principle of accountability means that organisations or individuals are answerable to the public. The police are legally public servants, and as a society we have granted them special powers, which they must demonstrate are being used legally, effectively and fairly. This stands for both individual officers and the police generally as an institution. The police can and should hold the police to account by obtaining these explanations, I can't speak today, by checking records, by assessing their fairness and accuracy, and by challenging where these fall below the line of acceptability. For stop and search, this means collecting your receipt, recording what has happened, and using this information to complain if necessary. Having all of this proof commits the officer to the explanation that they have given you, and therefore are more likely to follow the law. Holding to account therefore improves police behaviour. There are also less formal ways of holding the police to account. The website and app YStop have created an alternative and independent complaint system where you can report what has happened, remaining anonymous if you wish. There is also the chance to share your stories and videos with each other, and sharing strategies to handle stop and search better. Something that when I gave this talk on the Kill the Bill National Day of Action came up is that people feel a lot safer talking to their friends and loved ones about things than the police themselves. And that's something very important to keep in mind, is that at the end of the day, the police are accountable to us, but realistically, we're going to get a lot more out of sharing our stories, our experiences, by looking out for each other when we're at events and making sure that people aren't on their own and likely to be put in situations like this without a friend or someone safe with them, and just to look out for each other and make sure that we are doing all we can in our power to ensure that the police powers of stop and search are not being used against vulnerable and innocent people. I'm going to recommend the app YStop, which has a lot of resources which were largely used to create this talk. It also has tools for recording and for knowing your rights on stop and searches. So that's YStop with just the letter Y. And the last note I will end on is to remember the search formula. Stay calm, eye contact, ask questions, receipt/record, confidence, and hold to account. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, feel free to drop me a message on Facebook at James Shannon, or send me an email at jamespshannon@gmail.com. Thank you very much. I hope you have a lovely day.